As part of a measure to curtail possible industrial action across Nigeria's public universities, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, Sokoto State Chapter, has called on the federal government to, as a matter of importance, implement the 2009 agreement that was reached with the union. In a statement that was issued on Sunday and jointly signed by the chairman of the union at Usmanu Danfodio University and that of Sokoto State University, Mohammed Nuruddin Al-Mustafa and Saidu Isha Abubakar, respectively. The union also called for immediate implementation of the NIMI-BRICS Committee. Now, according to the statement, report which was submitted to the federal government since 2022 after a series of negotiations under the legally approved method of collective bargaining and principles. Now, looking at this particular story and that particular committee that was mentioned, they discussed a lot of things like excuse me, like the age range for retirement and the payment, increase in salary, a lot of things. If you look at the items that were actually discussed during that committee, you'd find out that if all of those things were met, we probably would not be having all of the ASUU strikes that we have had ever since after that particular year. But let's get your thoughts now. You are a lecturer, so you're kind of like in the system.
Well, in Nigeria, collective bargaining ordinarily should lead to, the signing of collective contracts, which will be binding on both the universities, the ASUU, and the federal government. But in Nigeria, the reverse is the case. In most cases, when agreements are signed in utmost good faith, you see the federal government reneging on their promises. An agreement was signed way back in 2009. I think NIMI-BRICS, the late emeritus Professor NIMI-BRICS, also played a role in signing so many agreements between ASUU and the federal government. But a huge component of these agreements have not been fulfilled. Every now and then, they continue to, most of the people who are not aware will say, oh, university lecturers, they have started again. University lecturers, they have started again. But they don't know the political undercurrent. They don't know the university lecturers in Nigeria are not just underpaid, they are treated like slaves.
How? In what way are they
a nurse or a young man who is a first degree graduate who is into data analytics, working in a firm in America or Britain, can pay 10 university professors. Yes, 10, not one, not two, 10, can pay 10 university professors. What he earns in 3 days is up to the salary of a university professor. We are making a, so that is why you see brain drain. In most cases, some of the professors whose education was subsidized with Nigerian money are now being brain drained out of Nigeria. In the late 80s and 90s, we saw a lot of many doctors brain drained to Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and other countries.
It's still happening now.
It is happening now.
Yes.
In fact, it is getting to a point where, my sister, I don't know where to start from.
Okay, so
I think Nigeria is no longer ready to. Nigeria used to be the educational laboratory of the world, of Africa. Pakistanis, Indians, and so on, they used to come to the University of Ibadan and other universities to attend school. Our educational, in terms of quality, we had a competitive edge over so many other African countries. But today, if you look at the top 10 universities in Africa, only University of Ibadan came 9. All of them, South Africa, Egypt.
Is that what ASUU are actually fighting for?
What they are fighting for?
Some Nigerians feel like ASUU are advocating for just their salaries, just their
It is not salaries. It's not salary. We are talking about the general living conditions of the lecturers. Do you know that there's what we call student support services? In those days, when we were undergraduates, if you are a student and you are not able to pay your school fees, ASUU members will meet and say, how do we help this boy? Let's give him a little scholarship. They used to do that. Student support services have deteriorated. Nothing like the infrastructure.
Why was that? It's not like the salary was the salary.
It is not. What salary are you talking? If a university lecturer receives 600,000 or 700,000, compute that in dollar terms. Most of the research articles we publish are published either in America, Britain or elsewhere. So if they say a particular journal article is, let's say, $1,000, compute that in Naira terms.
Why are you publishing elsewhere?
No, you must publish.
Why can't you publish?
A university is a universal institution. So, one of the requirements of becoming a professor is that about 25% of your publications must be in external journals out there.
We'll come back to you.
So let me conclude.
Okay.
ASUU is not just fighting for salary. Listen, ASUU is not about salary. It's about infrastructure. And, for us to have sustainable and quality education in Nigeria, the federal government should be able to address most of these things we are raising. I am also a lecturer.
Royal Chief, yes. Please go on.
I think the government should go ahead to implement the 2009 agreement, because every agreement has a time bound. If you agree long time or short time, within the shortest period we are going to do this, and you fail to do, what do you expect from the people? It is very sad that if you go to some of the universities, see offices of lecturers don't even have AC. And these are people that are supposed to be in a conducive environment because they are impacting knowledge to our children. If they refuse to do that because they are underpaid on the infrastructural development of the university that has been not improved upon, it is something that will affect the educational sector. And that is why you see a lot of our children are saying that education is a scam. Because, for instance, you don't see lecturers in class because they need to source for the alternative ways of surviving. You see, most of the lecturers are not doing some research work, being a resource person in different functions just to earn a living. But if they are well taken care of, some of them will not leave their duty and be accepting political appointments. They will focus on the lecturing jobs and perform it excessively because, for instance, we are talking about incentive to workers. We've talked about minimum wage for workers. Everybody wants to put mouth. But when it comes to lecturers, you say, oh, they are over demanding.
Probably because it has been going on and on and on. And
yes, go to public universities. Go and visit their offices.
People have seen their children stay at home.
You will see professors sharing offices.
Because of ASUU strike.
That is the problem.
So don't expect the people to smile when they see that ASUU.
It is not ASUU's fault, it's the government.
There's an argument. There's also an argument that our curriculum in our schools, in our universities, our institutions in Nigeria are actually outdated. So some Nigerians are asking, if our curriculum is outdated, then why are we still asking the government to fund an outdated curriculum?
Now, do you know why they say the curriculum is outdated? Today, we are not just in the age of ICT. We are in the age of AI, artificial intelligence, robotics. Now, go to University of Port Harcourt, University of Benin, or all the universities we have around. Go and see their ICT theaters. In most cases, you walk into the classroom and they say light, there's no light. You go to an anatomy theater and they say, we don't have cadavers, or we don't have formalin, we don't have petty things that should enable them to function. Those reagents are not there.
Now, the Senate has told Uni Abuja, ASUU of Uni Abuja, you're aware they're on strike. The Senate has told them that they should look for alternative means to fund the university instead of solely depending or almost solely depending on
I'm writing a paper which I will present in Ghana on the 5th of July. The title of the paper is The Dynamics of Funding Nigerian Universities. Implication for quality. Now, there are so many other sources available to universities apart from relying on the lean budgetary provision by the federal government. One is universities run consultancy services. They run sandwich programs and so on. In some cases, they partner with some, corporate bodies to run certain programs. These things I've known. In some cases, increase the school fees. But when you pull together all these sources, the amount of money is still very meager. Very, very meager.
So why don't you think, don't you think they should also, like the Senator said, look for alternative ways? If all of these ways are not enough,
all these are,
to invest
now what ASUU suggested to the federal government is simple. Listen, we said, okay, allow the universities to operate as autonomous bodies. Now, if in my faculty, maybe I am in the faculty of accountancy, if we are training 10 persons, allow us to charge money. These students should pay us money. If there are three lecturers, they should be able to generate the amount of money that we're able to pay these 3 teachers in the 4 years.
Besides their school fees?
What we are saying is the school fees.
Okay.
So when we computed it, to train one accountant, the accountant will pay about 7 million naira as school fees. That is if the universities are given autonomy to operate. And you see, education is a public good. This is my area. You don't monetize the academic. You don't just, okay, let us charge money the way people are buying garib, pepper, and so on. If you do that, very few people will be able to afford it. And it is for this reason that ASUU is always calling on government, because by the time the universities are given full autonomy, you can hardly see 2,000 students in a federal university.
So why should we give them autonomy if it's going to reduce the number of students who get?
That is where we are. The federal government says we should admit people through JAMB and so on, and they will foot part of the bill. What we are saying is the part of the bill they say they want to foot, they are not doing enough, and that is why if you go to the classrooms, they are shabby. Yes, go to some. When I live here, maybe I will visit a friend of mine in one of these universities. The office is, I don't know.
So you're also asking for full autonomy for the universities?
We have been asking for autonomy since the late 80s when I was in the university.
How is that going to improve education?
It will improve because...
I thought ASUU said that they are fighting for the improvement of education in Nigeria.
For a long-term solution, if they give universities autonomy, we will now run the universities as business. Those who cannot afford, stay at home. Those who can afford, come and pay and acquire education.
And how is that going to help? That's the question.
It will
help our educational system. How is that going to help our children to live the
Since the federal government can no longer fund education adequately, they should give universities autonomy. I am a teacher. In fact, I came up with a model. If they give us autonomy and we are 10 lecturers, we'll be able to bring our children and lecture them to get their degrees. Those who cannot afford it, stay away. And that will create some kind of elitist education.
That is already looking like ASUU is asking for their own personal.
I am talking of long term. That is no. You do. It's like it's like we are not on the same page. What I'm saying is that
we can't even be on the same page.
What ASUU is asking for is simple. What I'm saying is that a long term solution to this problem is give the universities what? Autonomy.
And then the children
when they have the autonomy, we will now determine who is admitted. Those who can pay will come in, take their lectures and so on. And that is what the federal government has refused to grant.
Okay, so let me hear about Chief here. Do you agree with his explanation now, Dr. John's explanation, with the autonomy now, the real idea of autonomy that the ASUU are asking of?
Give us autonomy.
Do you agree to
that is why we have alternative private universities. You understand? We have private universities for those that cannot afford the private universities. We are in the public universities. Okay, so it is being prioritized in different areas. You hardly see some well-to-do people in the society, their children in the public universities. That is why you see we are talking about strike. They are talking about this. It doesn't concern government because many of their children are not in the public universities. They have went to where they have a full autonomy of controlling the school activities, and that is not what will be benefiting the entire Nigerians because
this autonomy will not benefit Nigeria.
It will not benefit Nigeria because in some countries, some state universities are free. In some countries, state universities are free. If you go to our library in this our institution, you hardly see books to read. You're not supposed to buy handouts. You're supposed to have access to reading materials, and you have access to free Wi-Fi while you're in class. But you see that all these things are not being provided, so it becomes an issue. So if you want to grant them complete autonomy, it will become an issue. Even now they've not giving them autonomy, you see them charging, arbitrary charging on school fees. This one will be charging according to how you feel. When the VC finish his tenure, the next VC will come say, when this man was there, he charges like this. He just convinced the senator, look at what we are going to do. Because I believe most of these school fees our children are paying. It's like they share it between themselves. They did not use it into developing the universities. Because if they do, the school fees we paid, I don't know how they use it. And like Dr. have said, they have other source of income coming into university. It's not still enough for them. I know they are underpaid as per se, as per lecturers, they are underpaid in Nigeria. Quite all right. But they should look into their welfare. Why they should also put more effort in the money we are paying them, because it's part of my money, because I pay tax.
Yes.
The money we are paying them, they should put more effort in teaching. Do more. You need to do. Maybe when they do more, the federal government will see and say, oh, you people are doing more.
You see, Chief, on a final note concerning this topic, when you talk of school fees, I was working, and in fact, all my children attended private universities, because they left secondary school very early. Like my last daughter, she left 14 plus, and she attended a private university. The school fees, if you look at the ranking of universities in Africa, you discover that even in Nigeria, apart from the premier university like University of Ibadan, Ife, Nsukka, and so on, you discover that it is the private universities that are coming up. Covenant University, Afe Babalola University, you see Babcock University, and so on. So there is a correlation between funding and quality of education. It's like telling a woman to go to the market with 10,000 to cook a pot of soup. The one who went with 50,000 to cook a pot of soup, that soup will be richer now, for God's sake. You buy ice fish, the other person will buy aquara, this, that, fish, and so on. So there is a relationship between the amount of money you invest in education and the quality of education.
All right, thank you so much.